You know, for something so involved and dangerous, the instructions for the substance are kind of minimal. I mean, IKEA gives more detailed instructions to build an end table. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2024 Toronto International Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2024 satirical body horror, The Substance. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. The Substance stars Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid, and was directed by Coralie Fargeat. It tells the story of an aging fitness celebrity who uses a black market drug in an effort to revitalize her body and career, only to discover that the risk might not be worth the reward. Nothing can truly prepare you for The Substance. Whatever you've read about it, whatever you've seen or heard, even whatever you've envisioned about this movie is not going to be enough. Ever since its premiere at Cannes, The Substance has been on my radar. Friends and colleagues who saw it there offered endless praise, some even calling it the best of the festival. This had been hyped and built up in my mind for months, and yet, somehow, when I finally saw it at TIFF, it was more than I ever dreamed it would be. More disgusting with its body horror, more biting with its social commentary, more darkly hilarious with its satire, and more uncomfortable with its everything. The Substance is a horrific fairy tale, a gruesome cautionary fable. It's not a film of real life, but it is one of realities. And if you let yourself embrace the substance, it'll change your life. In fact, you probably won't even be the same person. Given the film's growing reputation, it's probably best to talk about the body horror right out of the gate. This is obviously a subgenre that's been disturbing people for decades. Big fans of the genre might not be as impressed as others, given the litany of hyperbolic reactions out there, but many, probably most people, those who've not been desensitized to the gross shock of bodily terror, will be thoroughly disturbed and disgusted. The body horror here is gruesome at times, painful or uncomfortable to watch at other times, and sometimes hysterically campy at still others. The film takes its time with this element, offering us a slow build at first, with a handful of moments of medical procedures to get under your skin. But things begin to ramp up as bodies begin to deteriorate, the film reveling in showing us everything, and flaunting the disgusting images in the exact same way it satirically flaunts the sexualized ones. But then things escalate far beyond what one could imagine for a story like this, with some of the most memorable makeup and practical effects in recent body horror memory. And that sound design? Honestly, the sound is often more gruesomely sickening than the visuals, which is certainly saying something in this case. When we think of celebrities, actors included, we often think of a glamorous lifestyle, and people who strive to always look their best for the camera. In The Substance, we have a cast of people who put it all out there, and we're okay with the fact that this film would not only make them look their absolute worst, but actually focus on and highlight that. This is largely a film of two characters. Well, sort of. But I've got to briefly mention Dennis Quaid and his performance here. In a film full of gross body horror, the scenes involving his totally coincidentally named character Harvey are some of the most cringingly disgusting. He's never for a millisecond presented in any other kind of light, and yet he really embraces it and gives it his all. But like I said, this is mostly a story of two characters, of Elizabeth and Sue, of Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. And just like Quaid, they both give strong performances, embracing the craziness of the script, and at times quite literally, bearing it all. Demi Moore especially needs to be recognized and praised for her committed performance here. The role of Elizabeth is not a glamorous role by any means, but she was game for anything here, approaching this body horror with the same determined and down-to-earth self-deprecation as Gloria Swanson had in Sunset Boulevard nearly 75 years earlier. Mindless scares and gore can sometimes be fun, but time and time again, the best horror movies are the ones that have something to say. And so it's unsurprising that horror has been used as a vehicle for social commentary for centuries. The Substance will certainly never be mistaken for a subtle film. It's extremely heavy-handed with its themes, even at some of its most subversive moments, and it almost loses sight of its thematic core during the over-the-top, albeit entertaining, third act absurdity. But even through the bluntness and bloodshed, it manages to hit its mark. The themes themselves may be familiar, even within the horror genre, but their incorporation into this particular story, with this particular visual presentation, make for something thought-provokingly affecting. Themes of unrealistic beauty standards, the sexist ageism within the entertainment industry, and the over-sexualization of the male gaze are all addressed, all while commenting on the unfortunate irony of how people can often be their own biggest enemy and critic, envious of the life they're convinced they should have, rather than the one they actually have. The grass is always greener on the other side, and the monkey's paw never quite gives you what you anticipated, but the substance is all but guaranteed to change your life. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has got to be the performances. Dennis Quaid gives an easy-to-hate and intentionally over-the-top, despicable performance, producing several of the most revolting scenes in this movie. But this movie truly belongs to Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. Both women are all in on their inhabitation of this symbiotic person, embracing the madness that is the story and the demands that the intense script placed on them. The duality of Elizabeth and Sue is fascinating, and only works as well as it does because of the performances. Demi Moore especially should be recognized and praised for her work here, in what may very well be her career best. The second pro is the body horror. This may sound like an obvious pro, but not all body horror is created equal. It can be gross, it can serve the story, or it can mean something thematically deeper, but crafting a film that manages to combine all three elements is something else, and the substance manages to do that. This is slick and stylish while being gruesome and disturbing at the same time, with some really impressive practical effects. Most people will no doubt have seen grosser examples in past films, but that doesn't detract from what we get here. This film builds with its body horror, giving us stages of fable-esque transformation before letting the reins go entirely for the wild third act. Pro number three is definitely the sound design. Presenting us with gross or disturbing images is one thing, but pairing those images with equally disturbing and utterly visceral audio is a whole other thing. The body horror works in conjunction with this sound, as we're treated to unnerving internalized echoing, the creaking and cracking of bones, and all manner of gushy bodily sounds. And remember how I said Dennis Quaid is involved with some of the most disgusting moments of all in this film? Well, the sound design is a huge part of that. Let's just say I would be alright if I never saw another shrimp again. On the con side, my only admittedly minor issue is with the third act. This is spoiler-free, so I can only speak in vague generalities here, but I'm not sure the tonal shift of the third act entirely worked. Don't get me wrong, I very much enjoyed the over-the-top absurdity of the third act. It's gruesomely fun with the right, or perhaps wrong, sense of twisted humor, but the moments of camp felt almost out of place, pushing things a little too hard with some of the overarching themes. It really worked from an entertainment perspective, which is all that'll matter for many people, but the escalation was a bit straining on the thematic core, threatening to overpower it. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying The Substance or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give The Substance 4 out of 5 paws. Part high-concept sci-fi, part disturbing body horror, all blistering social commentary. This is a film you truly can't mentally prepare for. With a committed all-in performance by Demi Moore, some unnervingly visceral sound design, and stylishly gruesome practical makeup effects, this is a film that's sure to tear its way under your skin. I would recommend The Substance to anybody who appreciates a good horror movie, but especially to fans of satire and/or body horror. It's occasionally a bit over the top, but will most likely be an incredibly enjoyable experience for genre fans. And by enjoyable, I mean, of course, that uncomfortable enjoyment that comes along with watching a horror movie. It might be a bit much for some genre novices, but fans of Demi Moore aren't gonna want to miss her performance here, even if that means stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit. If you liked The Substance, I would recommend Death Becomes Her. While not quite as disturbing with its horror elements, this is another satirical body horror comedy that focuses on an aging actress searching for eternal youth. This Robert Zemeckis film is goofier and more fantasy-driven, but still has its campy, over-the-top moments as Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn vie for Bruce Willis's affection. If you enjoyed Demi Moore's performance here, you should check out Sunset Boulevard. Although very different in genre, and an exceptionally good movie in its own right, this in part tells the story of a former silent film star who is unable to accept that her time in the spotlight has passed. Gloria Swanson, a former star of the silent era herself, gives a brilliant and proto-meta performance here, something that's mirrored by Demi Moore in The Substance. And if you'd like something a little less campy, but just as viscerally disturbing and thematically biting, you might want to watch Revenge. Coralie Fargeat's directorial debut, which also featured in TIFF's Midnight Madness section, is a brutal and hyper-violent revenge thriller with a satisfyingly feminist tilt. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen The Substance? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite body horror film? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.